Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleague Jim Patterson. Jim will be today's presenter and will discuss the topic of extending Project for the Web into a robust strategic portfolio management solution with OnePlan. This webinar is a new addition to our series of strategic portfolio management videos, so if you enjoy this webinar, feel free to watch the others we have available on our channel and look towards the next installment, which we'll be releasing soon. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thanks, Robert, and thank you everybody for joining us today. Project for the Web is definitely the new direction that Microsoft is headed for project management and capabilities in the Microsoft Cloud. And we're going to talk today about what it does do and what it doesn't do. And in the areas that it doesn't do, how it can be extended to provide full strategic portfolio management capabilities using the combination of Project for the Web and OnePlan. So let's go through. We got a lot of topics to cover here today. So we'd like to share that, we focus on project and portfolio management as a passion of ours, as our primary focus. And we are a Microsoft partner who has been doing this and being recognized for this consistently. For the 5th year running, we've been recognized as a leader in global project and portfolio management as a Microsoft partner, 5 years straight. And that speaks to our dedication to this and our thought leadership in this area and our effectiveness at providing solutions for people in the Microsoft Cloud. We're also recognized by the analysts like Gartner and Infotech Research, for example, for a lot of the things that we're doing out there in the marketplace. And on top of that, just with the whole Microsoft ecosystem, we have a growing number of global partners who are deploying not only Microsoft solutions, but the OnePlan solution to best meet the needs of their customers. And we have a growing number of folks that are available to help us and help you, the customer, with that globally. And we owe a lot of this success to our partners as well. Now, Microsoft's future vision, they announced quite some time ago that they were going to stop their investment in Microsoft Project Online, and that all of their future development was going into the Project for the Web solution or capability going forward on the Microsoft 365 platform. So those of you that are on Project Online, there will come a time here where you have to make a decision. For those of you haven't done anything yet, you may want to look at these new technologies we're going to talk about today as your starting point rather than to embark upon Project Online and then migrate later on. Now, what is this new Microsoft vision for modern work and project management? Well, it's to let the teams work the way they want in this modern, flexible work age that requires more agility and more flexibility, but also still let executives get the results that they need to manage and run their business and make decisions. Hence, Microsoft Project's been reimagined, and it's really more modern technology, more consistent tools, more collaborative tools to be able to do a lot of the things that people want to do in the modern workplace with younger workforces, et cetera. To make that happen, we've got to bridge some work management gaps that are in the marketplace. Microsoft Project and Project Online did a good job for a lot of years, but in today's day and age, we're all managing projects, not just classically trained project managers. We're not all trained as project managers, but we are dubbed as project managers for certain efforts. We believe the collaboration is critical, but because of our distributed workforce, our remote workforces today, and the fact that we have different tool sets out there, it's chaotic and work is happening everywhere and getting it harnessed is tough. We want to manage work our way, but our legacy tools we use don't allow it. Traditional waterfall only tools out there, or maybe older agile tools don't allow us to work the way we need to work in order to accomplish the types of projects and type initiatives we're doing today. So hence, with the easy access of cloud tools, a lot of users are out there are circumventing IT and choosing their own tools to succeed because they have their needs for the types of work that they're doing, creating this shadow IT and a proliferation of tools. With this proliferation of tools, we want to use the data effectively, but it's all in silos and it's a mess, and our reporting is very manual, and getting it all together is very labor intensive in order to pull it all together, if we can do that at all. Hence, to make better decisions, we need the big picture, but no one seems to have the big picture without a lot of manual lift on that. So to circumvent that, Microsoft has really built this new project for the web, a new simple and powerful project management solution that anyone can use. Not as complex as Microsoft Project Professional on the desktop. And as we're looking in the animated screen here, we can work at it with like Azure boards or Agile boards that you see here, just in simple lists of project tasks that you see here. And then your traditional Gantt charts as well. Flexible modes of which you can work with this solution or this tool. The idea here is to provide a fresh new experience, make collaboration easy with co-authoring like you have in the rest of the Office suite. Intelligent planning and an innovative platform to allow you to do things the way you'd like to do them, but keep it simple for that casual or that occasional project manager that we discussed earlier on. Now, unlike Project Online, which many of you have used, it is not built on a SharePoint Online foundation. It is built on the Power Platform, and the data is being stored in a Dataverse repository database. But Microsoft Project for the Web is built on this Power Platform and leverages things like Power BI for reporting and analytics, Power Automate for workflow automation, and Power Apps for additional application development around that. So this is the new platform. It is separate and distinct from what you've been doing maybe with Project Online today. Now, it's also a Teams application such that you can consume Project for the Web and use it in the context of Teams. So while you're doing your conversation and your content and file management, you can actually have your schedules from Microsoft Project for the Web in there, as well as any other tools you're using for project management, bring it all together into a singular hub within Teams. Now, in the context of this Dataverse repository, the Project for the Web is by default storing all its data in. Yes, you could use it as your own database repository and pull out individual project schedules here on the left as you see fit, as you build them in Project for the Web. The power really doesn't exist in just doing that. By using Power Apps, you can use your own self-developed Power App, which is a no-code, low-code platform designed for non-developer people to actually create their own applications, or even use pre-configured applications. There is a base Microsoft Project for the Web Power App that's available to you to access the data like you see here. There's also been developed an accelerator to wrap additional capabilities around the Project for the Web scheduling capabilities. And we're proud to say that OnePlan assisted and built this accelerator for Microsoft that's readily available and comes with your Project for the Web license. But it provides additional capabilities that you don't have if you're just using the Project for the Web as a scheduling tool. Now, by implementing this, we not only have the projects and the tasks that we would build in a Microsoft Project for the Web here in the green, but we add additional capabilities that have some PPM or project portfolio management capabilities that you might want to have. Different project management things like adding issues and risks and changes and status reports, for example. Be able to have a project request area that could actually capture those and actually promote them to projects in your portfolio. Even program level, where you can aggregate logical groupings of projects into programs and manage them at a program level. And then it has report packs that's available for you to have Power BI reports generated from that Project for the Web and accelerated data. Now, many organizations and many teams out there, this is enough to meet their needs. Schedules, visibility of a portfolio of them, and maybe some issues and risks and reports. That may be sufficient for many folks. But when we talk to folks like the Gartner Group, critical capabilities for project and portfolio management may mean more to you as an organization. You may have higher needs and use cases to address. So for example, in the blue, adding time management or timesheets, being able to do detailed financial management and tracking, be able to do resource capacity planning in a flexible fashion, and even do additional project portfolio management things, including things like what-if analysis. Those things are things that many organizations are doing today somewhat in Project Online, and they need to replace that if they move to the new platform. So hence, OnePlan has been designed to augment what's done by Microsoft and be able to provide those additional capabilities and provide feature parity with maybe what you're doing in Project Online today, and even go beyond that with additional capabilities that Project Online never had. So once again, the possibilities and the potential of this is beyond what we've had before. Now, OnePlan, in the context of Project for the Web, will allow you to do the same types of things by having all of your different project schedules in Project for the Web, if that meets your needs, and aggregate them up into a common portfolio with more flexible and rich capabilities than just in the accelerator. So things that we would add to the mix is portfolio visibility across all work, but also with multiple tools. You may be transitioning, and maybe some of your plans may be in Project for the Web, but some of them may still be in Project Professional on the desktop. You might even do some things in Agile tools like Azure DevOps and Jira. OnePlan provides you the ability with built-in connectors to actually do that. Portfolio prioritization in a richer fashion with all of those tools and projects that may be coming from different tool sets. The ability to look and manage your portfolio in a board fashion for the more agile-oriented types of folks, and do things like program increment planning in a card fashion in a flexible set of boards. Even roadmap views for more of the product-oriented types of people that are natural views right there in OnePlan that are rendered and not have to be created individually. Now, also a portfolio tree hierarchy. So if your organization works in, say, organizational units and business units and different portfolios for different parts of the business or types of work, and even different programs and other things, be able to flexibly do that and manage access at those levels is things that OnePlan brings to the mix. Resource capacity planning. What the accelerator does not do is provide much in the way of time-phased information that things like resource capacity planning requires, and be able to have a comprehensive view of resource capacity and how we're doing on that demand versus capacity at a overall level across the entire solution is something OnePlan provides as well. And take that even further, you can have resource negotiations enabled where a process can be put in place whereby project managers request different types of resources, resource managers provide them, and they agree and approve collaboratively to get the right resources on the right projects at the right time. Now, resource prioritization, we start talking about what if analysis. Resource capacity limits factor into your decisions on whether or not to do projects. If you do that blindly, you're not going to be able to deliver on the projects if you're overloading people beyond their means. The idea here is to be able to look at resource prioritization and prioritize your projects based on our ability to deliver those resources. And the financial planning aspect we talked about, detailed time-phased financial plans that actually have detailed cost categories that match the way you do business, as well as cost types to have original budgets, revised forecasts, actuals, and even forecast things like revenue and benefits and track those as well. And the financial portfolio views, as that detail rolls up to the financial portfolio, you can look at how we're doing overall on the financial health of your different projects very easily in the OnePlan pieces, as well as you're doing financial prioritization in your what if analysis, making sure the portfolios that we are agreeing to and deciding to embark upon fit within our ability to finance them. Now, we have a what if scenario modeling capability that allows us to do a variety of different models and do different variable types of scenarios that can look at financial in relation to the priorities of your projects, your resources that we talked about, as well as also being able to compare however many scenarios that you've actually done and seeing which ones may be the best fit or the best course of action for you to take. We also provide a My Work area that allows team members, now we're talking about team member access, to go in and look at everything that they've been assigned across the entire OnePlan and Project for the Web ecosystem, whether it be project tasks, whether it be backlog items, whether it be issues and risks, etc., giving them a singular place to go to see what's on their plate and be able to update those things. The same thing holds true with a timesheet. If you have to track time for capitalization of labor or chargebacks within your organization or billing to clients, a built-in timesheet is added to that mix as well. And then insights in AI. There's an AI component to OnePlan we'll talk about today that gives the user alerts as to what may be off track and what requires their attention, easy access to the things that they're involved in without having to touch the entire portfolio, and even conversation threads around the projects and tasks or work items that they're working on. Consistent status reporting and reporting here as a natural output of the process is a big benefit. We talked about not being able to get that data all aggregated. To be able to have it all in one place and succinctly, as a natural output of your project and portfolio management process, get the reporting that you need very easily. And we'll talk about a little today about OnePlan's AI. We've named her Sophia GPT. And think of Sophia as a collaborator for you to be able to help you do advanced analysis, use its natural language querying to streamline the decision-making process and analysis, and maybe deeper analysis than we can do all on our own. And it leverages the Azure OpenAI GPT owned by Microsoft. So it's all protected within the same security and compliance that is in that platform, not the general OpenAI and ChatGPT that we're toying around with out there in the marketplace today. So it's designed for that. And it's been trained to use OnePlan and its solution and its data to augment the data that it already has to give you very intelligent analysis and assistance. Now, not only just providing those additional capabilities from OnePlan, but think about what they call adaptive PPM. We talked about teams working the way they want. Now that might mean doing the things in different tools. Now, we don't want to exacerbate and go too crazy with the proliferation of tools, but let's just say in this case, the team members down below are using different methodologies. They may be doing some iterative or agile. They may be doing some waterfall, or maybe some combinations of both of those things in the same project. And they may be using different tools like Project for the Web, maybe using things like Azure DevOps or Jira, or they might be doing things directly in OnePlan itself. But having those things aggregate into a common portfolio, even though they're using different tool sets and have different data sources, essentially the teams can continue to work the way they want, but leadership can get the visibility at the portfolio level that they need to make decisions and understand how well their investments are tracking. Now, even if folks are all agile across the organization and they're using things like, Azure DevOps and Jira or OnePlan, for example, that need to roll these things up across an organization still exists because the language of the teams in an agile realm like burn-ups and burn-downs and velocity charts are not the same things that leadership use to run the business often. They may be rolling them up in different increments, but they might want more financial or more deliverable types of information in order to make their decisions and understand how things are tracking. Now, outside of getting that adaptive, flexible way of doing work enabled by OnePlan, the next stage is really to have strategic alignment with your projects. And as leadership sets out the course and sets out where the organization wants to go as a whole, that spawns off projects and initiatives. And be able to understand how the projects that you're looking at doing, considering doing, or doing, and how they align with the strategies that are set up by leadership is important in this day and age, to make sure that we're working on the right things and we're working on things that help the organization to get where it wants to go, and that the organization as a whole is rowing in the same direction. Now, OnePlan can provide that. We can simply update the accelerator that we talked about, and we can provide those additional capabilities that we just talked about in the prior slides, augmenting what you're doing with Project for the Web. Now, in a more adaptive world, you might then have connectors and maybe have project plans coming in from, say, Project Desktop that you might still be working with temporarily, or maybe you want to work with that ongoing, or something like Azure DevOps, or even tools like Jira, etc. But the idea is OnePlan can extend what's being done with Project for the Web to provide and achieve full adaptive PPM. Now, OnePlan can also be without the accelerator and go directly to provide a complete set of capabilities for both adaptive and strategic portfolio management. So for example, strategy, some organizations are looking at using Microsoft's Viva Goals for strategy to align that, but OnePlan also has its own capabilities that we can either align with Viva Goals or do it as well instead of Viva Goals. And in this particular case, if you look at all the blue that OnePlan adds to the mix, we can wrap this capability around and integrate it with what you do with Project for the Web, where it does its project schedules, it assigns resources to tasks, dependencies, and some project level reporting. But OnePlan can do the rest, where it be the strategy, the project request, portfolios, programs, prioritization, financials, capacity. Take over the things on issues and risks, et cetera, the my work and the timesheet, and still leverage Power BI for reporting in that Power Platform. And we'll show you some of those things here today. It also works in the adaptive state. So in this comprehensive model, we add that strategic layer where some people might be using the Microsoft's Viva goals for strategy, and it could be connected to OnePlan, or OnePlan can handle the strategy and OKRs themselves. In this particular case, you might be using nothing but Project for the Web to feed that execution level up to the portfolio, and that portfolio can be aligned with those strategies. The same thing would hold true if you have an adaptive use of this, where you have mixed use of tools, and maybe Project for the Web is just being used on some of your projects. So we can extend this and also provide additional flexible capability on the tool of choice. Now, strategic portfolio management is really more than just aligning strategies with your projects. The Gartner Group defines it as a set of business capabilities supporting portfolio management, and it really is designed to support enterprise-wide strategy to execution, alignment, and adaptation. And more than just the strategies themselves and aligning them with the projects, we might have things such as business capabilities. We might have digital or physical products that we have to consider or align with. We also have application portfolios, for example, and other assets that we might have to consider in order to achieve the strategic goals that we want. And so a complete strategic portfolio management solution, and strategic portfolio management, the acronym SPM is often used, is leadership must capture and define the business strategies and then manage the execution of the initiatives and the projects that drive the achievement of those strategies, and provide full visibility to the core assets, IT and otherwise, that might be needed to achieve success. And the solution supports the stakeholders of leadership, who sets the direction and the strategy, IT management, who owns the critical assets, like applications, for example, and the execution teams that have to manage a portfolio of projects and deliver on those. It has to meet the needs of all of those. So in this particular world, OnePlan goes yet another step further. And strategies can actually be laid out by business leaders. We're going to talk today about objectives and key results as a strategic plan. And then not only track that strategic plan, but then align it with the execution leaders and the initiatives and projects that are going on within that project and initiative portfolio. And then the factors we have to consider, and they may be aligned or associated, is the technology and the business capabilities. So the enterprise architecture or business architecture elements that IT leaders may have in place to allow us to align with all these things concurrently. So if we add to the mix of OnePlan capabilities is the business strategy, or the OKRs, the objectives and key results. The objectives being the overarching strategy that you want to achieve, and then the key results being the tangible measures of, are we making progress to achieving that overall objective? And then on top of that, we add in some enterprise architecture and business architecture capabilities in a light fashion that allows us to have different portfolios to align with. There might be an application portfolio, a product portfolio, a portfolio of business capabilities, etc. And those may factor into a complex need of things that have to be considered in order to succeed with our projects and initiatives and strategies overall. So how does that work? Well, say a strategy or a business objective could be to grow revenue by 15%. The key results may be the tangible measures of gauging on whether or not we're actually achieving that objective. And then it may be tied to the enterprise architecture elements, like a business capability, like order processing. Does that order processing capability need to be modernized and updated in order to succeed at our objective? And then there may also be applications that support that business capability that might need to be factored in and modernized, updated, or addressed in order to succeed at this overall business objective. And ultimately, there are initiatives that are happening that are aligned with these different applications, business capabilities, and the objectives and key results themselves. All pieces of information that are helpful not only in deciding what projects and initiatives we should prioritize and do first, but also understand the interrelations of, are things putting us at risk of succeeding on those objectives as well. So in one comprehensive solution, OnePlan can provide you with the strategic plan. They can provide you with the enterprise architecture elements that you might need, as well as the project portfolio, and have them all work together in a common solution. So OnePlan can be that platform to make that work, along with your use of Project for the Web. So being able to visualize this more complex landscape, OnePlan has a visualizer that lets us see how all these things interrelate, from the objectives and the key results through the projects and maybe through the products and applications and the business capabilities, as you see here. So once again, being able to make comprehensive sense out of this, be able to analyze this and drill into any area of this from this visual is something that's very powerful. So if we wrap this together and see how this works from a flow perspective, on the strategic side, the intake and the things that spawn projects is the strategic plan and the OKRs that we're going to show you today. We have ideas and requests that come in that need to be contemplated as a source of intake for projects, and they may need to align with those strategies. And then the enterprise architecture elements that need to be factored into either of these considerations on strategy and ideas and requests. Now, the portfolio managers, as we start selecting what we want to do, we have portfolio planning that needs to be done. We have resource capacity planning to get a portfolio plan that fits within our ability to deliver resources. And then we have the investments and the financial aspect of that. On the execution side, the plan managers have waterfall work plans. They may have more agile plans, and that can be done in OnePlan itself. But it could also be bringing that data in from a project for the web or a variety of other tools that might make sense for you to be using in these disciplines. And the team members we talked about can have their own time tracking and their My Work area, so they can provide simple feedback to the project on what they've accomplished, what time they've spent, etc., to meet the needs of the organization. And ultimately, for delivery and outcomes, the executives can get the status reports that they need, they can get the dashboards that they need at their fingertips, as well as the visualizations that make sense. So this is how this all packages up from a flow from end to end. The ultimate idea here is, we can analyze this further with our artificial intelligence, our Sophia GPT. But the key here is to do the right work, pick the right things to do, and then be able to do the work right and effectively deliver on these things in the most efficient manner possible. Our integrations are productized, so the ones that we work with will allow you to connect with built-in connectors for the OnePlan platform. And it also fuses not only into the environments. For example, we'll talk about how it fuses into Power Apps, so you can consume OnePlans right from within a Power App. It can be accessed from Teams, because it is also an authorized Microsoft Teams application, so you can insert it into any team or channel. You could actually consume it while you're in something like Azure DevOps. You can consume it in Dynamics as well as in SharePoint. The idea here is that to keep you from switching from tasks or applications and make it as little as possible, you have to do that switching and lose efficiencies. So with that, I would like to start a demonstration, and this is going to be a very high-level demonstration to get you an idea of the capabilities. So here, for example, if we're just looking at Project for the Web by itself, yes, there is a project home, as they call it, the ability to see what projects that you have personally that you have access to. And you can also come in here and look at individual projects or create new projects very easily. At a high level, it really is a schedule. So this is a particular project plan and schedule that we're looking at for this software development, that actually in this case is a grid view that we're looking at it from a simple list where I've got things like starts and finishes, who's assigned, the effort, the percent complete, and maybe even some other labels or categorization that we might want to do. So this is very easy to do, and you can also look at and easily access the properties for this project, like the calendar you're going to use, et cetera, when the project start date is, et cetera. But we can also work with this stuff in terms of a board in a more agile perspective. In this case, I'm looking at a board by who things are assigned to. I could look at it by, by progress and see what stage these different tasks or elements are in. Or I could even look at things by by sprint, if I want to use those as different buckets in which things are in which sprints, if I set it up that way. The key here is that you can set up your boards how you like. Now, traditionally, people want to work with things still in a timeline view, and you can do that here in Project for the Web with the same drag and drop of dependencies and working with this stuff in a graphical fashion. So the idea here is you can actually get here in any way you like and actually look at the task details very quickly from the web. As you can see, it's got the basics here. It's not going to overwhelm you with something like it does with some casual project managers trying to use Project Professional for the first time. And like Office 365 Planner, there are charts for basic data on this, what people are working on what and how they're doing on their tasks. You can establish some goals for yourself, which are just project-specific goals for this particular project in this case, and even look at what the assignments are for this specific project. But once again, we're looking at this at a single project basis while we're here in Project for the Web. So we can do scheduling in this fashion if we like. Now, you get access to, if you license for Project for the Web, you get access to the PMO Accelerator so that we can do some more things with this. So rather than just access this for the schedules only, you could come in here and look at a project portfolio. You can actually have it render here in more of a database type of view here, looking at the different projects that you've actually saved and how they're doing, maybe some KPIs and such, and look at them with different views. You could actually drill into a particular project and look at the different aspects of that, where the tasks or the schedule might just be one thing, but you might have portfolio level data to categorize this project. You might have issues, risks, and changes. You might then just look at the tasks or the Project for the Web schedule in the way that you would in Project for the Web, but in the context of other aspects of managing in your project. If there is a project request area, you can aggregate these into programs, but this is essentially what it gives you. Now, we talked about Project OnePlan being able to augment this accelerator, and it's been designed to be consumed from within Power Apps, which this accelerator is. It is a pre-built Power App. And as you can see now, the menu items on the left have changed. So where we can do things like look at an overall flexible portfolio based upon different structures that we want to work with, as I showed you in the slides. So the analyzer or the project portfolio view from this could include lists. It could include a plan type hierarchy. Notice it's incorporated all the Project for the Web plans into the mix. But we can also have boards. We can also have roadmaps. And we can also have other dashboard capabilities in here, as well as resource planning, right? That gives us the ability to do more time phase resource planning that the accelerator in and of itself does not provide. We'll talk a little bit more about other features in OnePlan, but I'll do that directly in OnePlan with things like the My Work and My Timesheet, etc. The modeler. That's all added to that accelerator and augments that in the context of that, should you deploy Project for the Web that way. Now, if I just go into Project for the Web by itself, go into OnePlan by itself. I'm going to go into an instance of Project for the Web, the OnePlan, that has all the things in it that you might want. And we talked about that model where Project for the Web could be one of many tools that you're using on a portfolio. So for here, for example, notice that I'm looking at a portfolio of projects, but in a richer, more colored view with things like KPIs. Also notice that I've got icons to the left here, to where the accelerator is just geared towards Project for the Web. Notice the icons on the left here. I have project professional plans that are coming into here. I have Project for the Web plans that are coming in here. I have Azure DevOps plans. I'm even using non-Microsoft tools in here like Smartsheet and or Jira. The key is here, and also notice there's ones with no icons here at all, meaning they're managed completely right within OnePlan itself, where the schedules might be being done in OnePlan itself. The key is you have this portfolio flexibility for the way you'd like to do it. Now, I'm looking at a flat view of projects and plan types, and we've defined plan types in here as projects and epics for more agile and more waterfall plans. And we can put any kind of metadata we want against these projects to categorize them. So for example, at this flat list, if I wanted to just use a piece of metadata and say, let me aggregate this by business unit, for example, and I could go in here and say, what's going on here within product development, and what products are we having, what roll-ups do we have within that product development area? It's just grouping, and we can also filter by those same parameters in here to filter down to the projects that we want to see. So this is one aspect that we can do with grouping and filtering. Now, we also can put a pure hierarchy in place in here, where, for example, we can come in and say our plan type hierarchy might be more than just our projects and epics. Maybe they're rolling up into programs and then different portfolios even within this mix. In this particular case, if I go into a portfolio summary, I could come in here and say, all right, I have multiple portfolios in this organization. Each of these might have different levels of access, so different people can access different parts of the portfolio. And then here we have programs, and then within the programs, we've got the projects and epics within those. The difference between this and the metadata is that each of these program and portfolio levels are now entities, not just a piece of metadata. And we can put things like program or portfolio level budgets and portfolio level resource plans, et cetera, all together in there. And we can do this in a structured fashion and structure it the way that makes sense. And we can also do permissions and access so we can determine who can get into each level and go below those things very granularly, so we can understand who can have access to what parts of the portfolio if you're in a specific business unit or department. And once again, we talked about the boards and the roadmap views, et cetera. We showed you that prior, so I won't be redundant on all that. But if we drill into a specific project, even though we're not in the accelerator, and I go back into the project list and I go into a view, and I have a particular project that is linked to Project for the Web. I can drill into this project, and in and of itself, I can have the project details and the categorization in here and a lot of additional data in here that we didn't really have in the accelerator. I can also have a work plan in here in a OnePlan view that could be created here in OnePlan should you want to do that. But this Project for the Web project is actually connected. This schedule is actually dynamically connected to a Project for the Web plan. And so if I go to open this item, you can see the Project for the Web is just the source of this data, where we've chosen to do our scheduling within Project for the Web, but it's rolling up into that OnePlan portfolio seamlessly. And it does it without the end user having to remember to actually synchronize. It has its own schedule, typically hourly, to update that portfolio with the data that's there. Now, on top of that, as we're in here, we can also drill in and look at, we've got, the details. We've got a resource plan for the for this particular project that'll roll up into a broader organization-wide resource plan. Our financials we can track in here and even compare things like budget versus forecast or budget versus actuals as we go through that and look at how that's tracking across our projects. And in the work plan itself, beyond just the schedule, we have other work types. So for example, I could come in here and say, I want to have my issues, risks, and changes all in the same place. And the idea is I can look at those very succinctly, all in one work plan without having to go to different places or different tool sets to make that happen. So for example, let's go look into a project that might be linked to something else other than Project for the Web. And this support customers using mobile, if I go into the work plan, notice that my issues are a work type. Just like I had plan types at the plan type hierarchy, I have schedule, backlog, issues, risks, changes, key decision, and you can even add your own. We have customers doing things like assumptions or lessons learned, and be able to capture them all in one place and assign them to people so they can work with those and track on those. And for example, in this particular one, if I go to the backlog in here, which is designed more for agile projects, this particular backlog of features and user stories and tasks is actually coming from a connection to Azure DevOps. And we can actually have that live connection just like with Project for the Web and have that actually update this and roll up into the portfolio automatically. Now, if we talk about the resource plan, and I showed it to you in the context of a singular project, if I go to roll all that up and look at an organization-wide resource plan, this is where I can come in. In this case, I'll look at it by business unit and see who are my resources in product development. And I can see that Jack Barker and many of my people are severely overloaded. And this is a demo environment where we've added an insane amount of project load. Now, in this, I can come in here and not only look at it in terms of the hours allocated, but maybe succinctly boil this down to, say, percentages of allocation and FTEs. And in this case, the full-time equivalent is showing I actually allocated Jack 4 times his capacity in May. Now, this is a demo environment. I would say if you had visibility like this all the time, there was no way you would over allocate him this much because you wouldn't keep giving him more work. But in this particular case, the reason that it's showing up that way is because we have him on all these different projects over this period of time that aggregate up to that. So we can do top-down resource capacity planning in this particular fashion, or we can even aggregate from all your different schedules, regardless of where they're coming from. or if they're just in one plan by itself, and from the bottom up, I could look at the same Jack Barker and I could look from the bottom up and I can see he's on this project, but he's on these tasks that are rolling up from the bottom up to the same type of capacity view that we want. And just like, as I mentioned in the financials, I could come into a assumptive type of capacity plan and I could say, let me compare the committed to the scheduled, maybe the top-down assumptions to the bottom up, and look at what that means. And I can see that from a product development area, I thought I was going to be committing 2.74 headcount, and I'm now committing 3. I was committing different levels to what I needed in here. And then even down at the individual user level and down at the individual project level within those, I can compare the difference between the top-down and the bottom-up should I want to do that. Now, we talked about strategic alignment. So if I go to the My Strategy area, this is where it gets interesting. You know, I had mentioned you could source this elsewhere, but OnePlan has the capabilities right within it to define your objectives and your key results. So here I've got an objective or a strategy or launch new product successfully, and I have 3 tangible key results that are supporting and giving me visibility into whether or not I'm accomplishing those. Now, I can have different dashboard views just like in the portfolio here, but to be succinct here today, let me just drill into a particular objective. And here I can see I've got the data around the objective, I got the objective description, I've got the start and finish, and I've got the budget and some of the metrics around that and how it's being prioritized. But I can also see it's aligned with 3 key results that I'm tracking the results of, where the target numbers or dollars or something, and then the current number that we've achieved so far is what we've achieved or our status. And if I drill into a specific key result that's aligned with this strategy, I can see that this create customer case studies, 20 customer case studies, it's basically a number metric, not a dollar or a percentage or other type of metric. It's saying that my target number is 20, I've achieved 10, so I've 50% accomplished on this, and I want to have this done by a certain time frame. Now, it can be associated, as I talked about earlier on, with other things. It's associated with a prospective idea or a prospective project that we have, but it's also associated with different projects and epics that we have. It's associated with different products and applications here, meaning that these are things that all need to be factored in and considered as we look at achieving this key result, which is supporting the overall strategy. So let's say I drill into this and I want to visualize this particular case study. I can just go into reporting and I can see with all those associations, I don't have any dependencies of anything that has to happen before or after me, but this runway view is going to show me that I have this key result, which is tied to this objective of launch new products successfully. And I can also see that it's aligned with these different projects and epics that are here, as well as we'll talk about in a little bit, the enterprise architecture elements like products, applications, and capabilities and how these things are tied together. It's also color-coded by the status, right? So from here, I could sit here and say, all right, it looks like a couple of these projects are yellow, and I want to know why they're a little bit off track or at risk. In this particular case, I can drill into this, and I can pop into the details on any one of these elements and the details around that very quickly with a pop-out and see where each of these things stand, or even go drill through fully into that item if I want to and go examine that. Now, if I want to get into the enterprise architecture elements, I could get to right here from here. So for example, let's just say I'm worried about, I'm concerned about this CRM application. And I want, instead of do a quick edit, I want to just drill right through to that element. And it can take me to this particular application, and it sees that I have some predecessor application, like I have this account system RB number 3.2 that is actually needs to happen before we get to this. But the runway from this, from an application perspective, says, all right, yes, it is tied to this key result. Yes, it is tied to this objective. But then here are all the projects and epics that are associated and have to possibly be dependent on this particular application in order to be successful. So once again, I'm coming at this from another angle. And all this is coming from this enterprise architecture piece whereby I have different portfolios. And if I expand this out, I might have a portfolio of products or product lines. I might have a portfolio of business capabilities that I want to track, like I talked about in the slides. We might be doing value stream management and tying these things to value streams, or this application portfolio that we have here as well. So once again, OnePlan has the capability in here to not only identify and capture these things, but then associate them with one another so that we can have full alignment into what it is that we're doing. We talked about the My Work area. We move to the team members. And this My Work area gives people the ability to see everything that's been put on their plate. And in this one particular view, you can have other views of this like you want, organized the way you like. But this one, I also have, here's the critical things on my plate. I have the changes, I have issues to deal with, I have tasks on different projects to deal with. And also notice I have the ability to do things like have conversation threads with others regarding things on this particular element. I can actually build my own punch lists or to-do lists on these types of things. And I can complete these things and get status back to the project manager as easily as possible, and even share notes that to and from the project manager here as well. The other thing you can do is report time. So if you do need to capture a timesheet, it's a natural output and it captures the elements that you've been assigned to and allows you to charge time in the increments that make the most sense. So here, not only do I have the charge elements for the different tasks or elements within my plans, it's telling me how much of what I've been allocated has actually been charged to this date and whether that's gone over. And in any different charge element, I can actually take notes and give notes of explanation as to what it is I've been charging to, if I have to do that for clients and or departments I'm charging back to or invoicing. Now, an advanced capability here is that modeler we talked about in the slides. So a portfolio manager or steering committee might come in here and set up their own model. And you can create new models by simply giving it a name, selecting through criteria and or filters the plans you want to include in that model and what fields of data you want to use in that model. And then once we've done that model, I'm going to go to one that's already built for expediency today. And this IT 2023 planning model would actually have me be able to look at the potential projects and epics that I added to here, which there's a total of 115 that are possible. But I've done a couple scenarios. I did a scenario with a $20 million budget that helped me to select and deselect projects that would help me get it within that $20 million budget area. Now, if you notice, I've got 20 projects that are in, but I've got 79 that are in, but 25 that are out. And these are things that did not make the cut after I did my scenario analysis. You also could possibly say, let me do a $25 million budget, see if what my benefits could be. For example, if I could get another $5 million and look at what's in and what's out. I could actually do 92 of those projects if I got another $5 million. Now, if I come into this and I try to do a scenario fresh on my own, I can do a lot of different things here. I could actually look at this prioritized ranked view. I could come in and say, what are my resource constraints? And in this particular case, I could go down and say, oh, wow, I'm way overloaded as I am in this demo data. But let's just say you have a more reasonable view here. I could go, for example, here and say, I'm going to deselect my lowest priority projects and not do those lowest ones. And it's going to re-rack the resources down below, and it'll free up the resources that we aren't going to do in those particular projects. We could also come in and we could also put a timeline or a Gantt into here, such that we might take the lowest priority projects that are still remaining in this, and we might say, all right, maybe we just need to move some of these out and say, we're going to do these later on, and we're not going to say deselect them, but what we may do is we may move them out and have them re-rack the resource allocations in here as well, based upon timing, as well as selection of the projects. Now, as we do a number of these, we can analyze and compare the different budgets that the different models that we did, and compare things like what the budget was, what the committed effort might be to the total effort, and even look at the benefits. So for example, for the $25 million budget, if I got another $5 million, I could get another $7 million plus in benefits. It might be worth my while to go try to get that additional $5 million. So once again, this is not exhaustive, but we can also do things like pivot charting in here, so we can actually look at different analysis in here. We can actually do bubble charts, etc., to actually have those give us graphical images of our analysis. So with that, here, let me go into the charts and go look at a bubble chart, for example, and look at the things that we did select, and maybe even look at the things that we hadn't selected, and basically put those into the mix here as well. So the last thing I'd like to finish on is just flash to you some of the things we can do with Sophia GPT. This is by no means going to be exhaustive, but in each area of the tool, whether it's in ideas or in your portfolio in the modeler, Sophia is available to you down here as a button all the time. And in this ideas area, there might even be some examples of things that you might want to ask it. And you could potentially use voice commands in order to make that happen if you allow that to happen. So in this particular case, I'll just do one simple thing to just show how it might work. And I'll say, based on priority and return on investment, what 3 projects should we approve first? So Sophia has captured that question and is now doing some thinking. And basically out of these ideas, Sophia is going to hopefully come up with some recommendations for us. But this is just a scratching of the surface of the things that Sophia can do for us. So basically it's selected based upon the criteria and the data that are in here, saying that our wind turbines project with a priority score of high and a return on investment of 1.25 million has a strong impact on the business. Our plant automation has high priority, as well as engine and as a service and flying hours are things that says these 3 projects will have the highest priority scores and return on investment, making them the best choices to choose. So just give you an example of the types of things that we can do in here, but the possibilities are endless. Just want to flash you the capabilities that we have there today. So with that, let's go into a summary and some wrap up of what we talked about. So we talked about that Microsoft is in the process of reimagining Project and Project Online. That Project for the Web provides new modern project execution and scheduling, but Project for the Web does not have full feature parity at this time with Project Online. And OnePlan provides a platform that extends Project for the Web and goes even beyond the capabilities of Project Online. OnePlan also can add capabilities to give you full strategic portfolio management capabilities, including that light enterprise architecture capability as well. OnePlan also integrates with other solutions and tools as needed to integrate with that data, as well as make it an adaptive PPM solution. And OnePlan as an organization, we can provide not only the solutions, but the services and migration assistance to support any transition that you have from what you're currently doing today with your solutions. That includes we're using Project Desktop, Project for the Web, and Project Online. You can also try out OnePlan. So in this particular case, we showed you the strategic portfolio management solution, and I would highly recommend if you're interested in these topics to go get that trial. You may need to get an Office 365 or Microsoft 365 tenant admin to approve the application so that you can use it. But let us know if we can assist. We'd like to engage with you and help chaperone you through that trial to make sure you get the most out of it. We can also provide you a free roadmap workshop to kind of talk to you about where you're currently at, the solutions and tools that you use today, and where you'd like to get to and what your requirements are for both now and for your future state. We can give you an idea what it would take to do that. You may already own a good chunk of the tools that you need in order to make that happen. So this might only be an incremental investment. So the free trial or the roadmap workshop, we'd love to engage with you. I gave you a very quick high-level demo today, and if you have your unique use cases and requirements, we'd love to schedule a personalized one-on-one demo with you and go into whatever depth is required for you. You can reach out to us at contact@oneplan.ai to reach out to us and schedule that, or you can just do more research if that's where you're at right now at www.oneplan.ai with a lot of information out here on these solutions. So at this point, I'd like to thank you on behalf of all of OnePlan. Our tagline is the power of one, because we converge everything into one source and one hub of information for all your project portfolio management needs. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can. My email address is down there. You'll be getting a copy of these slides. And And sincerely, we would like to engage with you and help you get to this next step. So OnePlan provides all the capabilities you would need. Thank you, and have a great day. Thanks for joining.